One of the biggest things I hear people say, "I can't find help."
There are hard workers out there. It's finding them and connecting with them.
You seem like you're a white glove service recruiting company. You seem like you're just not the typical recruiter. That's what I'm picking up. The special guest today, Kelly Rowlett Grave. I'm sure I said that wrong. I apologize. She actually builds one of our biggest needs we need in home services, finding and recruiting talent. And we're going to talk about why it's so difficult to find talent in the trades, why you have to separate yourself, the process of getting great talent, why anybody want to work for you. So, Kelly, I'm fired up to have you here on Exit Rich because you are going to educate a lot of our listeners on probably one of the biggest things I hear people say, "I can't find help." How many times do you hear that saying, Kelly?
If I had a nickel, right, for every time, a lot. It's a mantra in the industry for sure.
Kelly, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what the name of your company is and what you do? And you're a woman-held company. I know you're proud of that, and talk about that also.
Yep, I'm proud to be a woman-owned company. We've been in business going on 8 years now. Work with your hands, find any kind of skilled trades, labor, but also, anything in the ecosystem of home services. So, people need sales, um, call center, dispatchers, marketing managers, leadership. You name it, from apprentice to the C-suite, we've got you covered. So, we I feel like we have conquered the very hard need for skilled trades recruiting.
So let's just talk about that. I mean, no matter what you are in this environment where Um, I'm gonna say it nicely, people seem to have gotten lazier. They've watched a lot of social media. They've either all gonna be billionaires in 1 year. All the noise, all the nonsense has made it very hard since COVID especially for people to recruit top talent. I mean, let's just call it what it is, let alone in the trades, as you know, which is a declining craft across America because of all the rhetoric about you can't make a good living there, but you can make a great living in the trades, and it's actually the opposite. Can you talk about why it's so hard in your perspective, because this is what you deal with every day,
Mhm.
to recruit talent and why employers don't understand what it takes to recruit talent and just the disconnect, because it seems to be a big one.
Yeah, for me, that's you're right. I think there are owners out there who get a very negative perception on no one wants to work, they're not out there, and it's just a very glass half empty kind of perspective. I do see that changing with people with younger kids getting into the trades, and there are hard workers out there. It's finding them, and then it's finding them and connecting with them. For us, what we see is when we're hiring someone that's gonna be a leader, they're generally at their desk, they're behind a computer, much easier to connect with them, either on LinkedIn, they're gonna respond to an email quickly. When you look for someone in the trades, they're working with their hands, they're on a roof, they're behind the wheel of a car, they're turning a wrench. They are not You have to meet them where they're at, which is normally off hours. So, being able to interview someone off hours, but if we go through the whole funnel, call them off hours, text them multiple times. They're not gonna respond on the first time normally. Then when they you set up an interview, you have to connect with them multiple times. It's just the sense of urgency and having all those touch points to get on hold of them, follow them through the process. They don't live by their calendar. They might not remember that they scheduled an interview with you on Tuesday when they did it the week before. So constant reminders, rescheduling, a lot of rescheduling. And just having empathy for where they're at in their career, that they're not waiting for you to call and they're not sitting behind a desk. Their resumes generally lack a lot. So they're not somebody who they may be have a great academic background and have a beautiful resume, but they also might have one that leaves a lot to be desired. So you're looking at it, trying to decide if you want to call them. You can't always judge a book by its cover there.
You know, you hear people say they don't wanna work, um, you know, but yet And I'm just looking I heard this question and it resonated with me probably about 10 years ago. One of the most effective questions someone ever asked me was, "Why would you wanna work for you?" And I thought about that. I was like, "Wow, man, like, that hit differently." Because before when I was vice president of AT&T, it was always the standard. We give you health benefits, 401k, you have mobile career, you have a career opportunity to climb the ladder, all the standard canned things.
Yeah.
And when I went out on my own, 17 was been 18 years now. Yeah, 18 years ago almost now. And I was asked, why would anyone want to work? Why would you want to work for you? And that question was like, "Man, you better really think about that, like, would you wanna work for you? Am I treating you right? Am I putting my arm on you when you're having a bad day, just trying to make you feel better? Am I lifting you up or am I putting you down? Am I constantly cracking the whip? Am I not fun to be around? Am I not making this a good environment? Do I make you walk on eggshells when I walk in the room?" And I think people don't look at that because can you talk about that? I don't know if you ever heard that saying, "Why would you work for you?" I don't know if you I'm sure you have because it's what you do, and you must ask that question, right? Like, "Why would you work for you?" Right?
Oh, and we partner with so many different types of companies and different types of owners that, you can tell from an intake call that you there are some people you definitely wanna coach on those. I would say that not every candidate, I guess to your point of being from us, we're a matchmaker. So, somebody who might, really respond to your type of leadership might not respond to the guy next door that does the exact same thing. So,
The
really
snooze button
what's that?
the snooze button, I call them.
Yeah. So
To
you
be candid, I mean, you have to have a reason why people wanna come work for you.
Yeah, yes, and you some people will need a lot of, safety. So they do need a really safe environment where you have the systems, you have processes, everything's laid out. You have the blueprint on how everything's supposed to go, and they can follow it to a T. There are other people that you might ask, you have the autonomy to run this how you want, and they can't work during that, and so it's frustrating to some leaders, but you've got the wrong person in that seat. They can't work like that. They need a blueprint. Or there's someone else who's very, tough. "Tell me like it is. Be direct with me. Don't beat around the bush. I need to know exactly." Where other people, if you're like that, they're gonna cry. So, I feel like that it's meet people where they are, and I would say just recognize yes, there are a lot of things that people can do to be a better leader for sure, and would you wanna work for you? Always, there's always improvement. I think there's continuous improvement on being a leader and being a good person that not yelling, having those systems in place, little things, but also recognizing that your management style and where your business is today, if it's a very small shop and you don't have all those things in process, you might not be able to be able to hire the person who needs all of those things in place or they can't function. So there's a lot of like looking at a candidate and looking at who would work well with you and your team, and whether that you're the owner and you're managing, or whether you have a service manager or you have somebody else, a field supervisor they need to connect with. It's a piece of the puzzle, and you want to make sure that they have your same core values and have a good work ethic, have the basics, kind of have the three things that are important to you that you really want to hire towards, and then see if they'll work with you. But to your point, reflect on yourself every once in a while and say, are you providing a good environment for at least the people, are you providing a good environment? And then you can look at management style and who would fit in that.
Listen, I'm a believer in this is you gotta hold people accountable. Like, my standards are very high in all my organizations, it's very high. But my standard for myself is very high too. We're gonna have systems, processes in place, SOPs in place. we have an accounting team, we have an HR team, we have a recruiting team, we have marketing team, right? Like you're gonna have the support systems, right? But you're gonna have to do your job or you gotta go, right? I mean, and I do believe, it's funny, I see a lot of these in the trades business, operators, I'll call them, right? They live in such chaos, right? And that's great. You live in chaos, but your employees can't live in chaos. They're gonna leave. And can you talk about that? About if you don't have systems, if you don't have processes, like no one's gonna build your company for you. And I think a lot of employers think they're just gonna hire people and they're just gonna come build their companies for them. And that doesn't happen. They're gonna be their own entrepreneurs. Can you talk about that, Kelly, please?
Yeah, no, to your point, you've gotta have all those, and that's why, I mean, they're out there. All the blueprint, the systems, processes, SOPs, they're out there. There's educational and coaching groups everywhere. You can get it, off of AI these days, but you gotta make it a priority to have all of those. Yes, running in chaos does not work. And it's really hard when you have a small business to be wear every single hat and have all those things. Um, Day one, it takes a while to build all of that, but it's really important. And then it's important also to upgrade them and constantly revisit them. Are people following them? Um, and it's easy to make analogies of like a team player, but if you're on a team and, I don't know football a lot, but if you're on a team and you have your position, you know you know your position, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you know exactly how you have to block and tackle or whatever you need to do to protect the team and to make to score for your team. I think it's the same when you're building out your team and you're building out your team at your work. Like, know what everyone needs to do, know what defined positions, but have the SOPs in place. It's the little things that build that safety and the culture. But it's hard to hold people accountable when you don't have all of that. And if they don't really know what they need to be doing in their position.
Here's a question for you. How big is growth to people wanting to work for you? Meaning your company's grown, like you're having a conversation when we interview people. Like my in-house team, I'm always saying to them, make sure you tell them we're growing. There's leadership opportunities coming available. They can transfer to another division if they have to. They can come in-house to LB Capital if they want to, right? Like we have opportunities, right? We have 7 locations across the country right now, and just roofing. We'll probably have 10 by the end of the year, by the first quarter of next year. I apologize. You know, talk about growth and being able to climb the ladder because I think that's important. Is it? Is it not? I mean, companies' revenue growth, is that important or not really to the employee?
I think it's different for everybody. This kind of backing up to what you were talking about earlier, where you felt like people maybe they don't want to work. I think it's different for everyone. There is a different mentality for I mean, we're both Gen X. There's a little bit of a dip. Maybe you're not Gen X. I'm too many, but
Well, how old are you? I'm 51. How are you?
yeah, 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 same. So our generation, we were built a little differently, I would say, and I don't I it's not to disparage any other generations, but I think that the younger generation, some of them, they wanna grow, they're very ambitious, but they also hold work-life balance in a different, to a different standard than we do. I feel like with my own kids. So where I'm like, you did not work all the time, like you work yourself to death, but you also, um, not at the sake for the sake of growth. I think there's some people out there to your that employ for an employee, it does matter to be able to have the opportunity. It doesn't matter to everybody. So
What percent would you say it matters? I'm surprised by that answer, Kelly, to be like, I got common sense. I guess I would think 10-20% don't care about growth. They just want to come in, turn the wrench, put a roof on, and go home. I thought 80% of the people would be like, man, I want to at least have the opportunity to go into management. I want to be with a secure company that is growing in revenue.
growing in
Um,
revenue, sure, but growing, and here's, in a what I think of, when you have someone in sales, they're gonna make more than a manager. Why would I take on the headache of a manager position when I can make so much more in sales? That and then growth is different to them. So it's not growth up a company ladder, but growth as far as opportunity goes, just with making the sale and having a good
Right.
rep.
Answer that question. I can answer that question for you though, Kelly, because if I was on the interview and I was interviewing you and tell me you didn't want to be a sales manager, just say, you know what? I'm going to make more money than your sales manager by just selling Lance. I wouldn't want that position. Just say that to me.
I don't want the position. What was that? Was my sorry.
You're going to, exactly what you said. I'm going to make more money as a salesperson than a sales manager. I don't want that responsibility.
I'm gonna make more money in the field selling than managing people.
Kelly, I agree with you. That's 100% true. I'm not going to try and sell you on it. You're going to make more as a sales manager. What I am going to tell you this, Kelly, you got every trait to become a great leader. You communicate well, you have the sales ability, you understand our product, our systems, our services. Kelly, this is what I'll tell you is this, and here's a true story. A guy by the name of Bob DeFord back at Verizon. I was about 27 years old. Yeah, maybe about 26. He came to me, he was being promoted in Philadelphia. He said, I was their number one salesperson in the country. Everyone at Verizon knows this is a true story. He said to me, Lance, I want you to come be our sales manager down in Philadelphia, district sales manager. I said, Bob, I'm going to make over $300,000 this year. You're crazy. I'm not going to. I think my base at the time was, don't hold me to this as a sales manager, 80,000, 70 some thousand. I said, Bob, you hit the wacky tobacco too much. He sat me down and he explained to me, Lance, what we're going to teach you as a district sales manager is all the things that you need to be a leader, all the things you need to be able to understand how to run a business one day, all the things that will give you intangibles. That so one day you can have a bunch of salespeople working for you and you can make a lot of money. I literally said, sign me up. I went on to be their number one sales manager. I left. AT&T recruited me. I was the youngest vice president at AT&T. I'm sitting here today and I'm doing very well, very well. And without me going in that management and taking that sales role, so like I feel like that's the easy objection to come over. Not everyone's gonna take it,
Right.
but if you could paint the picture on why to take that, there's a pretty good chance people. So I think people think immediate. They don't think long term. Like I see people leaving jobs for a $2 raise, $3 raise, right? And that's lunacy to me because when you go just $2 or $3 an hour, just say $3 an hour times 40, that's $120 times 4 weeks on the average month, right? So now you're at 240, 360, 480. Once I take taxes, I clear 300 bucks. I divide that by 4, it's $75 a week is probably pays for my gas. I don't know what I'm getting, who I'm dealing with. I don't know the devil at all. I don't know really much about that company. And I just left a secure environment that I was probably happy in for $3 an hour. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to. Now, that makes no sense to me, but you see it all the time because that's you're in the business of doing that, right? So I would think that the upward mobility of offering people to have a better life would be more important than the $3. No? Or am I just totally crazy?
Yeah, you would no, it's logical, but it doesn't always work that way. So you're right, though it happens every day that someone will and that's part of recruiting in for skilled trades and for in home services is the sense of urgency to get people through the process before they take a competing offer and also coaching them that you haven't thought about the benefits. You haven't thought about that they're asking you to do X, Y, or Z. They have it on call. You don't have on call over here. You haven't thought about these other things. So coaching them through the $3 is going to mean 75 bucks a month to you. Why would you go with this other company? They're not even offering you the things that you told us on the interview were really important, which is your 401k and you want to have good health insurance. So that's part of coaching people through it, but It's different for, in for everybody. I would say that the upward mobility piece does matter to a lot of people, but it couldn't say it across the board. So, the growth in a company, I think, does matter, and having a good reputation in the industry does matter. People do wanna work for.
Talk about, like, having a good reputation in the industry, because so many people don't, they don't understand that, like, you better be good to your employees, you better have a good culture, you better I'm not talking about pool tables and, you know, free snacks. I'm talking about culture, like, where you could see it when you're walking around, your energy, people are happy or people miserable. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think, people are happy or people are miserable, where you find it is supply house. And they'll talk. So if you're not treating your people right, it's gonna come out where all the technicians get together, which is where they meet each other. Or if it's on a Reddit board, we've seen that, which is very interesting to see technicians, talking on Reddit, and being very open about some of the things that they don't feel like is, that their current work environment. So there's a lot of channels out there where I think people talk, besides just, within their little groups at work. So it does matter. Your reputation does matter. Having good Google reviews, having all those reviews does matter. Taking care of your people, but, do they have good clean uniforms? Do they represent you well? Do they have their shirts tucked in? There's also that part of it, just like when they're representing you and they're out there, if they're picking up parts or they're wherever they are in the community, that they're, keeping their vans clean, that they're doing, they're representing you well. That's part of it, and then you're taking care of them as far as I think that can be out in the community too, like, sponsoring Little League, being at the fall festival, being at the parade in your community, like, having happy faces. All of that resonates. It's really the collective, in my opinion, of that kind of brand.
Let's talk about the interview itself, because I just went through something in one of my companies, and I said to people, this better never happen again, where someone showed up, and I had somebody walking by, right? And I just said, "Who you interview with?" They said the person's name. So I said, "Let me go get him." Right? They just 'cause they were waiting in the lobby for like 5 minutes, right? And then they come to find out that person there, they were running late from another meeting. And I just walked back to the gentleman. I said, "Hey, listen, this person isn't there, and I apologize." I saw his whole face, just almost like in disgust, right? He drove. And so at that point in time, I was like, I got to get this gentleman a 5-star experience, because whether we hire him or not, right? I knew I wasn't gonna hire him at that point because of this whole facial expression of disgust, right? I didn't blame him for being upset. I just know there's always adversity in every organization, and you gotta be able to at least hide that, right? Like, so, but at that moment, I knew I wasn't hiring him, but I knew we were gonna definitely give this gentleman a 5-star experience no matter what. I stopped 2 of my other employees, we made him interview. When that person got there, made him spend out. And how important is that interview, man, when to make sure you're there, that they're not waiting too long in your lobby, to make sure you're prepared, that you know who they are. No different than, like, did all my research on you, right? When you pages of notes here, right? Like, no, I did. I got pages and pages of notes. My team puts together, right? Like, about you and everything. Like, how important is it that as an employer you're doing that?
It's important for the employer and the candidate. So just like yourself who did the research, we supply our candidates with that information. So they should walk into the interview knowing about the company, knowing about the position, having all that ammunition. And then the company, whoever's doing the hiring, yes, to your point, um, on time. Do you want any water when they're sitting down? Are you comfortable? Let me show you the office. Let me show you around. Look at our training center. Look at all the cool things we have. Um, greet, just welcoming them in is a huge part of it. And you can differentiate yourself, even if you're a small company and you're competing with a much larger organization, you can differentiate yourself with that. And I would say going a little further on the onboarding, we've had candidates who would say, "It's like the first day of school. You're going into a new environment. You're going into a new office." And this guy was ostracized. He was another salesperson. The current sales team felt like they were being diluted. He he was extremely experienced, and the welcome that he got when he got to the office was there was no welcome. It was very much like, "Who is this guy?" And no one would talk to him. He was like, "Forget it, like, I'm not doing this." So, they lost a somebody who was producing 4 or $5 million in plumbing sales because they did not welcome the leadership did not make sure that everyone else was welcoming him in. So, it goes beyond the interview to onboarding.
That happens more than you think.
Oh, I know.
It was, about a year ago, one of my companies that transpired. I'm very transparent with people. Like, people are like, "Man, Lance, we had a guy, his name was Mike Murphy, really nice guy. He came and he left, PJ Fitzpatrick to come with us, and he's a Northeast kid, and he's a very talented sales rep. I'm still friends with him to today, and, we put him in one of our companies, and around the water cooler on day 2, he was out there on day 2 in training. They were telling him he didn't have enough people didn't have enough leads, all this stuff. Like, these are my top sales reps, right? These are guys making 300, $400,000 a year. And I'm like, "Wait a minute." I'm like, so he calls me, he left, right? And either way, he quit, right? And then he winds up getting in touch with me. I'm like, "Why'd you quit?" Needless to say, he just thought it was for him. So finally, he comes cleans with me. He's like, "Listen, man, I talked to 3, 4 guys. They told me you don't have enough leads to feed me." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like I'm like, "They're some of my top guys, right?" Like, and we had to change our culture real fast and say, "Guys, like," and then we gave equity to all of our salespeople once they hit a certain number. So then they realized, man, if everyone doesn't eat here, then they never get this. So we had to change some of our cultural things and what we're doing. And it was a great learning point for me. But exactly what you just said. I think the onboarding the first month of someone and what they see and understand as they settle in is just as important as the interview, because even though they're excited and it's like a first date, I tell people, like, everyone gets dressed up for the first date. Everyone's excited. They try to show up on time, right? If it's a true date, it's just, but if you're really into someone, you try and put your best foot forward, right? So if your first 30 days somewhere, you can't, 'cause I do believe it takes 6 months to 9 months to settle in a new, I'll get your perspective on that. But if you make that first 30 days kind of, all right, this ain't a bad place. This place has good energy. I can see myself here. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, like every fast paced environment. But hey, they're good people here. Can you talk about what you feel about like that onboarding and how long it takes someone to settle in?
I probably, but just based on kind of outside looking in on experience from the clients that we recruit for, I would say it varies somewhat based on the size of the company. If you have a larger company, you usually have it dialed in, and it also varies, I would say, by the department that we're hiring for. Um, I think sales is a little bit, different, there are different animals, so to speak. I mean, you get into, if you get into, different positions where you're an HVAC tech and you're going out and you're doing basically solo calls. We might ride with someone for a week or 2, learn the process, make sure you understand how this particular company does whatever. But if you're in some of the more competitive, positions, then it might take longer. But probably depends a little bit on, to me, the size of the company and the person. But to your point, 3 months, 6 months before you really feel like that you're ingrained in it and that you feel comfortable, 9 months to a year before you're, like, completely settled in. But, uh, yeah, all of it's important the whole way through. I mean, it's checking in, it's knowing your team and having a pulse check on if you feel like something's not going right with an employee and you really wanna keep them, we do see if they can come in with a friend. So if they know somebody that works there, usually can last a little bit longer if they have, because they can automatically, I mean, it goes, I don't wanna compare it to high school, but if you know somebody, you automatically kind of feel more comfortable, and
Like,
it was little less time. So,
it's like refer a friend.
yeah.
What percentage of your people would you say go to a new company? They're excited, right? Tech, salesperson, right? You hire management people also, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. What percent call you up in the first 30 days and say, "Man, I made a mistake here. Get me out of here."
Um, Management, it's less, but if it goes south, it's usually a lot louder. So and there's generally it's something that we weren't privy to because we try and I mean, we want full transparency. If someone's walking into and they need to be a change agent, we want them to know that, and we want to find the right person that has the ability to come in if they're coming into um, some chaos or some disarray. The company just got purchased by PE. There was a bad service manager that left and took half the department. Like, let's be honest about what our candidate is walking into. So we make sure we have the right person. So as long as our client's fully transparent with us, we can mitigate some of that. But on the leadership side, if it doesn't line up with what they were expecting, it's pretty loud. Technicians, it's generally, I would say we hear it, but it can be nuanced as far as, like, they just don't get along with their manager. They didn't realize even though they knew the on-call schedule, it turned out not to be the on-call schedule can't work. They thought they'd be okay with the commute. The commute's way too long. Little things like that can come up, during their I'd say, like, first 90 days. But we try to get in front of all of that because those are anything that you can prevent going into it, let's prevent going into it.
When you are recruiting technicians, where do you find them?
Mm. Um, Indeed is the biggest. Our database, we have about 200,000 people in our database. We can find them on ZipRecruiter. We can find them on social media. There is a way it takes a lot longer, but you can go to Yelp reviews and anybody who puts their technician's like full name on any kind of review, their their technician's probably going to be poached. Um, but uh, you
Been update for today. Good recommendations. Kelly's coming.
well, it's not just us. It's probably a lot.
No, I love it. I never even thought about the Yelp tech thing. I guarantee you that's like the gym. Everybody knows Indeed, Facebook, ZipRecruiter, the databases, right? Like not most people don't have a 200,000 tech database or management that trades database, but it is comical to hear you say go to Yelp reviews and look for a tech's full name. I mean, I love that.
Yeah, it's you have to turn over and you have to turn over every stone. I would say too, if there's a public database with licensing, so if you know you need someone with a certain license and it's a public database that will go to the database and you can normally find people there. You're not going to find a resume, but you can find a name and a phone number and kind of do some detective work and find what you can. But I would say there's ways beyond the typical Indeed job boards.
You seem like you're a white glove service recruiting company. You seem like you're just not the typical recruiter. That's what I'm picking up here.
Absolutely.
Is it
But
is that kinda like your stick? Like, "Hey, we're a white glove." Because listen, I deal with a lot of recruiting companies, obviously. I you can't scale the way I'm scaling without dealing with them, right? But you seem more white glove. You're very polished, and you communicate incredibly well. So sales must be very easy for your organization, but, um, it seems like you have more of a tailored white glove approach of handling the whole entire, "I'm gonna take the candidate from beginning to end with you, and I'm gonna make sure I prep you as an organization to really tell me who you are," right? Because someone that works for someone like me, my personality, right, probably isn't gonna work for somebody with a very docile personality, right? Like,
yeah.
it's 2 very different energies in our office, right? I walk through some offices, I feel like I'm floating through a cot I could sleep by the time I get to the conference room, right? Like, here, it's not music playing, but it's very energetic, it's young, vibrant. Can you talk about that part, your white glove service? 'Cause it just seems different talking to you.
Oh, well, I'm glad. We do try and differentiate ourselves. I don't think we could do have an impact on a business and have an impact on our with our clients' growth and who partners with us and loves our services and stays with us for years and years. Anybody who's got a growth mindset. They have their stuff together and they want to grow. We can't help them with that. if we don't do all the things because it just in skilled trades, you have to have all those touch points. You have to follow through. It won't work. You can't just hand the baton and hope that that the client's going to be able to pick it up. The reason they came to us is because they don't have a dedicated recruiter. Their dedicated recruiter is working on other things. Whatever the case may be, they're having a huge surge and they need a ton of people. Whatever it is, we can't it doesn't work with skilled trades. You have to be able to hold a candidate's hand through the whole process. And then for leadership, you have to know your customer. So I need to if it's somebody like yourself that you need someone high energy that can accept direct feedback and works with other people that are super high energy A players with that hold themselves to a high standard. There's only a certain person that's going to work well with your organization. There's other companies out there that need someone that's whatever they need, wherever they're at in their place, but it's we wanna know all that. We wanna know core values. We wanna know, everything about an organization. Where are they at in their business? Where they want to be? What is performance and, success look like in every single role? If you hire someone, even if it's an apprentice, 6 months, a year from now, what does success look like for that apprentice? So that we can really, fine tune what we're looking for. So take it really seriously. We want long-term partnerships, and, I truly love home services. I don't know, I love this industry, so I think and my whole team does. So
We gotta ask this question.
yeah.
I gotta ask this question. And I'm not trying to offend you, I'm not trying to offend the listeners, but, like, there's not a ton of women in the trades. I know we're gonna talk about the growth of it next, but what's it like being a woman in the trades? Because you ultimately are in the trades, you're recruiting, you're dealing with a predominantly male, right? It's predominantly males you're still dealing, women, right? Right? I'm assuming 90% males, right?
Yeah, for me, I have a very thick skin, and I just don't get offended easily. So for me, it's not a big deal. And I know, my husband's a contractor, a lot of our friends are contractors. I just, I don't know. I truly think that anybody who's working in the blue collar field, and whether you're a manager in it, you're a CEO running a company, or you're an apprentice or a technician, you're the fabric of America. You're what's keeping us going. They're just such mad respect for it that
I love
I
that. I love the fact you're saying, yeah, I love that.
yeah, I don't take offense. I don't it takes a lot to offend me. So, yeah.
Talk to me about the women that are joining the trades, because that seems to be a big push for a lot of people in the trades. It seems like there's a lot more women coming into the trades. Is
Mm.
that a myth, or are you seeing it? Because it seems, from my opinion, that there's a lot more women, and they're coming in. Some of these people are flamethrowers. Like they're trendsetters, and they're coming and taking males leadership positions and
Yeah.
a lot of different things. I mean, can you talk about that? I mean, the women are no longer just secretaries in the trade. You just see that even in my own organizations. They're running things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and they're doing an incredible job. So which is fabulous to see. So, and, what we see is someone who can start as and they may not start as a technician. We do see women technicians, and that's fabulous. When we can hire women techs, we get very excited. But it's still a very small percentage as far as, like, the overall percentage of, I'd say, women in at the trades level. It's growing, which is amazing, and we wanna applaud that. But women leadership positions, like, there is a just like there's a path if you're starting as an apprentice, there's a path if you're starting as a CSR, if you're or your HR or whatever your path is to get to know the business. You get to know the business model, you're a good leader. We had some plumbing service managers that are managing 25, 30 plumbers. They're women. They're fantastic at their job. They demand respect and they get it. And they run those teams. w- I mean, they're fabulous at their jobs. So we do see a lot of women in the industry, and I think that's just going to continue to grow.
Danielle, last question for you. if you're a if you want to grow as an organization, it sounds like a stupid question, but I ask this to a lot of people that can't answer it. Why don't organizations understand that they have to be recruiting companies?
It's hard. There's just so many fires that people are putting out on a daily basis, and I think that it you have great intentions. Most companies have great intentions, and then somebody gets in an accident or someone quits or something else happens, and you're just constantly fighting fires that take precedent and priority over recruiting, and you realize 2 weeks have gone by and you haven't called someone back, and it's just other things take priority pretty quickly is what we see. So, that's where we can come in, and we might have to be pretty persistent with some clients to say, come on, we got somebody in the pipeline. They're awesome. It's been 48 hours. We're going to go with another company. They're actively, you know, continuing. Let's get them in the door. Meet them at a Starbucks and a Saturday. Do what you can do. Let's get them. And so that's our job, is to make sure that they hang tight as long as we can, and also push the client to make it a priority. But it doesn't become a. It's not, generally speaking, the priority as things come up.
Listen, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you to talk to you about? I'm assuming you'll represent anyone in trades, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, awesome. If I'm in the trades, I'm listening to this, and I want to talk to Kelly herself. How do I get a hold of Kelly?
You can email me at Kelly, Kelly, workwithyourhands.com, work Z on the hands. And you can call me at 703-639-4134. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. I mean, I'm on social. But yeah, love to talk.
All right, Kelly, I appreciate you being here. I look forward to seeing you in Mount Grow, Iowa, December 3rd through 5th in the Roofing Process Conference. We're actually changing the name to Build It to Sell It for next year. But, look forward to having you there, and congrats on all your success.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.